So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Hey, thanks for watching our live stream. I'm the host, David Krayden. In the meantime, have a look at some of these clips and take the opportunity, please, to like this broadcast, ring the bell, or subscribe.
And we're stepping up in every way we can because we know that Russia must win this war. That Ukraine must win this war.
But freedom is something you earn every day.
I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist. Thanks for joining me today. This is David Krayden, your host of Stand on Guard, broadcasting to you live on this beautiful Sunday morning. And you can't have too many of these, I'll tell you that. And it's so nice to have you with me. Just got back from church, but I want to start the broadcast off after this brief introduction with a real salute to the people that really matter.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to...
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
Love the name of that bill, don't you? The Stand on Guard law. And that's exactly what we need in this country. But here's a salute to the people that matter. Farmers, it's Thanksgiving Sunday. Be thankful, not only to God, but to the farmers of this country who work hard for you to keep you fed and who are just completely being ignored by this carny liberal government. No, not ignored, persecuted, attacked. Justin Trudeau began a war on farmers, making it almost impossible to buy fertilizer, to use fertilizer, endless regulations. And of course, there was the carbon tax, impoverishing farmers during the Trudeau years. Carney has continued his war on farmers, specifically ostrich farmers in BC, who continue to be harassed, intimidated, persecuted, and terrorized by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, a goon squad, a death squad that are good for nothing. But thank you, farmers, for all the work you do for we Canadians. And I tell you, we appreciate it so much. We really, really do. And that's just a look at what your farmers are doing for you. Thank you, farmers, on this Thanksgiving Sunday. You do so much for us all. And we got a lot of material to cover this morning. And there we go. Thank you again, farmers, for all you do on this Thanksgiving Sunday. Now, I want to have a look at a number of things this morning. But we will be getting to the latest on the ostrich farm. I was speaking to Katie yesterday, and I'm trying to give her a break from interviews and the news. It's Thanksgiving. I'm going to give her a call later to see if she can come on Tuesday. But then again, I should mention, I've got Premier Daniel Smith of Alberta will be on Tuesday on this show as well. We'll be talking about Alberta independence. We'll be talking about the pipeline. We'll be talking about her efforts to get pornography out of elementary schools and a number of other, as much as we can talk about. I think I've got 15, 20 minutes with her. And she's always very accommodating. As I said, I've known Danielle for years. I think she's a great woman. I think she's a great leader. Great and politician is not two words I put together. Sometimes it can be an oxymoron. But if there are any great politicians in this country, it probably begins and ends with her. I really appreciate the work she does, and she fights for Alberta, and she's got a huge conundrum on her hands with the rising support for Alberta independence. Going to be a fascinating interview. But anyway, here's some really good news. China will remove canola tariffs if Canada scraps EV levies. Well, guess what? Sounds like a good idea to me. But here's a suggestion. If we get a comprehensive trade deal with China, let's include in that trade deal some measures, some commitment to stopping the flow of fentanyl at the BC ports, which we have had so well documented. Now, let's listen to Vasi talk about this for a sec, then we'll go to Sam.
That this will be a quid pro quo, that if in fact we do remove those tariffs on Chinese-made EVs, the ambassador from China told me explicitly China will remove their tariffs in a commensurate fashion. Have a listen to it.
So if Canada removes the unilateral unjustified tariffs on Chinese products, China will also reciprocate accordingly. And if the EV tariffs are removed, then China will also remove the tariffs on the relevant products of Canada.
I also had the chance to talk to the ambassador about the possibility of more Canadian oil and gas going to China. TMX, for example, LNG projects in BC, all of that is aimed at diversifying our markets away from the United States and sending more oil and gas to China. The question is, though, if, for example, we were to double that and have another pipeline that goes out west, is there enough demand in China to take all that extra oil? The ambassador seemed to indicate that there is.
Big news, folks. This is very big news. This could be a boon to the to the energy sector in Alberta. This could be the reason why Premier Daniel Smith needs and wants and arguing for a pipeline to the West Coast. Guess what lies west of the West Coast, to the far east on the globe? China. That's why Alberta needs a pipeline, and Premier David Eby of British Columbia had better give his fat head a shake on this one, because he's completely wrong. Completely wrong. But I want to play this interview here. This is where we are with China right now. We need to be very careful in our relationship with China, because we know China interference. I know the Conservative Party likes to refer to it as Beijing interference, but it's China interference from the Chinese Communist Party. And here's an explanation of where that is.
Bill C-70 was also, though, meant to address a critical gap being exploited by shining a light into the shadows where operatives hide, and that is by creating a foreign agent registry. The United States has had one since 1938, and Australia since 2018. But nearly a year and a half after passing the required legislation, Canadians continue to wait for the federal government to act. Why? What's the reason for the delay? Parliament has done its job, and the creation of the registry is a simple order in council, something that can be done with the stroke of a pen. And yet we stand here 476 days later, still waiting.
Thank you very much, Kevin. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. This is a culmination of a 2-year investigation. I want everybody to understand we didn't go looking for this. This investigation.
Now, is the CBC talking about this? Is the mainstream media talking about it? No. This is why we have to balance any trade deal with China with some stipulation that the interference stop and the fentanyl, whoops, did I say that word? The F word. The F drug. I said it once, I can probably get away with it once. This is why we need to be so careful about what exactly we are signing, what exactly we're doing with China.
Investigation came to us, and what we found was money laundering, corruption, and elite capture at the highest levels. During our investigation, we had some brave citizens islanders from Prince Edward Island that came forward and provided a depth of information that would provide for a law enforcement agency sufficient grounds to launch a criminal investigation. One of the things that we were able to look or ascertain was the amounts of money that was coming into the province was all in cash, consecutive $100 bills, brand new, in the amounts on a weekend of hundreds of thousands of dollars. This amounted to millions of dollars over the course of time that we looked into it, over the number of years that the monastery, Bliss and Wisdom, has been operating in Prince Edward Island. We were able to establish that the monastery has set up a network of corporations. And if you look at it from a point of view of money laundering, is what you would anticipate finding in an organized crime network. This monastery, if you look at it from a Dalai Lama's point of view, you would not anticipate finding corporations, land transfers, land flips, and citizens being paid under the table cash for residences and property. And that is what has happened in Prince Edward Island now for a period of a number of years, ever since the provincial nominee program came into existence and they were allowed in.
So you see what's happening here. China has infiltrated both coasts. PEI, pretty well, yeah, that's part of Atlantic Canada. And of course, we know what's going on the Pacific Ocean, on the West Coast. Huge shipments of the F drug are arriving at Vancouver ports. They're being processed in the interior of BC and going south of the border to the markets. So this is a clear and present threat that I'm sorry most of the news media doesn't want to acknowledge. Oh, no. All right.
For residences and property. And that is what has happened in Prince Edward Island now for a period of a number of years, ever since the provincial nominee program came into existence and they were allowed in. The Master Jinyan, who came into the province, it is our belief from our investigation that he's tied directly back to the PLC, or the Communist Party in China. In my experience, having worked both in Asia and from 91 to 94, having collaborated with Sam Cooper and had hours of discussion with him over the many, many years, I can tell you my view is that the PRC government, the only way to describe it is that they're the largest transnational organized crime group in the history of the world.
Now that is
what we found.
That is truly an astounding claim to make. It's like a country is running an organized crime outfit. And, you know, Sam Cooper has done some tremendous reporting on this. One of the few investigative journalists out there who really wants to get into it. And every time I run Chinese material like this, and when I run stories about what China is doing, interfering in Canada, and of course there was that microbiology lab in Winnipeg where we had 2 spies working there who were just simply told to go home. Nothing happened. And interestingly enough, that same microbiology lab is tied to the investigation of the so-called H1N1 avian flu outbreak in Edgewood, BC at the Universal Ostrich Farms. It's the same dirty laundry keeps coming up time and time again. Listen to a bit more of this.
Found were clear signs of elite capture, failed oversight, and infiltration of Canadian institutions and political parties at the municipal, provincial, and federal levels by actors aligned with the Chinese Communist Party's United Front Works Department, the Ministry of State Security. In some cases, political donations have come from members of organized crime groups in our country and have certainly influenced political decision-making over the years. Our investigation and book and documentary document how religious organizations like this particular group, Bliss and Wisdom, may have been exploited for money laundering and ideological influence. how the provincial nominee program enabled rapid immigration pathways, often without sufficient due diligence or follow-up, and how federal investigations and local investigations into irregular cash flows, immigration fraud, and suspicious property deals were quietly shut down without accountability. We explore how a PEI hotel housed over 500 Chinese nationals, all allegedly trying to reclaim their $25,000 residency deposits, but they used a single hotel as their home address. The owners charged by the CBSA only to have the trial shut down by the federal government itself. We examined testimony linked to the movement of over $1 billion into Prince Edward Island and other provincial jurisdictions with tactics resembling the Vancouver model of transnational money laundering. This isn't just a book and about one province. It's about a system-wide failure to deter covert foreign operations and what happens when complacency meets strategy. Canada's democratic institutions are being tested, not with tanks or warplanes, but with capital, policy manipulation, and silence. A legal system complicit with turning a blind eye to improper and illegal practices. Today, we're calling for transparency, for national scrutiny, and most of all, for Canadians to wake up to the subtle siege underway. Thank you.
Once again, this is an indictment of what Communist China is doing. And unfortunately, China is not on the radar of most Canadians. It's when you ask them what the most 5 to 10 important issues are, China is not coming up. But this is a clear and present threat to Canada. And we need to be aware of what's going on. I'm just going to play a little bit more of this.
Recognition that the UK government is now undergoing a scandal in which it appears Labour leader Keir Starmer and his government have suppressed the flagship, the largest espionage case ever focusing on China, targeting their own parliament, in which Conservative MPs were allegedly targeted for information collection from Chinese threat networks. The case was cancelled. We're reading more and more about it in UK's media. And what I want to say is I recognized it seems almost the exact same story that I exposed at Global News, the targeting of Canada's parliament, in which Justin Trudeau's government apparently pressed down on reporting from Canadian intelligence that was pointing most alarmingly to China's attacks of Conservative MPs, gathering information on MPs such as Michael Chan, and supporting more friendly MPs from other.
That's Sam Cooper.
Dean mentioned in terms of suspicious trails that's outlined in the book. There's several reports from Parliament. This is the interim report. This is the National Security Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarian reports, all looking at involvement of China in Canada. And there's the Hogue Commission report. So there's threads leading everywhere in terms of concerns over Chinese involvement in Canada. And I think the operation in Prince Edward Island is key to where things seem to be going.
If you missed that at the beginning of this, Wayne Easter, of course, was a member of Parliament from Prince Edward Island. He was also a public safety minister, and I would say probably a hell of a lot more attuned to reality than the current public safety minister, Gary Anandasangar, I think his name is, who is completely out of touch with reality and should have resigned months ago, or should have been fired. But when you have a good Liberal from Atlantic Canada like Wayne Easter saying, there's smoke and there's fire here, folks, something's going on, maybe it's time the mainstream media began to listen. Maybe there's actually a problem here.
Is that a forward operating base to move to other areas of the country? So it's for all those reasons, tying those threads together, that there's only one real way to get to the bottom of what is happening, and that would be a federal public inquiry. There's no sense doing a provincial one because, as Dean has mentioned, there's too many interconnections within Prince Edward Island to really get to the bottom of the issue. And you'd need a federal public inquiry that can subpoena witnesses, can trace bank accounts, can bring in people in internationally to get to the bottom of this issue. So the bottom line is we need a federal public inquiry into Bliss and Wisdom in Prince Edward Island to finally get some answers on all the interconnections that are involved.
Right, so incredible revelations at this news conference. Incredible claims. I probably shouldn't be using the word incredible because that means unbelievable. I believe them. Where's the response from the federal government? You know Mark Carney's tied at the hip, joined at the hip with China. We have covered this so much since he became a candidate for the Liberal leadership. We have been covering Mark Carney as China's man. He wants China to succeed the United States as the economic engine of the world. He wants the Chinese currency to be the global currency. He was in Beijing getting loans from China for his private company, for Brookfield Asset Management. He's getting loans from communist China when he was supposed to be in Beijing representing the government of Canada. We've reported all that. That's well known. So do you think Mark Carney is going to look too carefully, scrutinize China very carefully? Probably not. This is why we need some security guarantees in any trade bill that comes to pass with China right now. And what I like about this news conference is that it's a bipartisan effort to actually get something done. But I don't think anything's going to get done. But here's Sam Cooper talking more about this.
I want to get back to the issue because
and thank you to the Daniela Camboni show for this.
Because most of your work has been centered. I mean, you were front and center in exposing the fentanyl issue in at the border. Trump has told Carney, look, I kind of like what I'm seeing, but this is far from over, right? This is just too big. I bring this up because you wrote the story on New Zealand seizing record amounts of meth and maple syrup jugs from Canada. It was picked up by CNN, etc. Tell us what you're seeing. Has this situation gotten any better, Sam?
No, I mean, what has come out through my work is that, Canadians, including some of your former colleagues at CBC or people we both know in Ottawa,
right,
have been very accepting of the Prime Minister's office and the Prime Minister's viewpoints that there's only, a minimal amount of synthetic drugs coming from Canada to the United States. But my reporting has shown, no, Canada is a net fentanyl exporter worldwide, much of it going to the Asia Pacific. Again, Vancouver used as a hub to accept those or receive chemical precursors, chemicals that are sent from Chinese factories for fentanyl, methamphetamine, ketamine, you name it. Any synthetic narcotic, it's coming from China, and Canada is being used to ship it and to produce it. So my reporting on New Zealand shows that there's been a massive amount of methamphetamine coming from Vancouver's port to both Australia and New Zealand. So that just underscores how the Chinese chemicals and the...
By the way, whatever happened to our fent czar? I'll put it that way. Do you know what I'm talking about? You can only say that. You can only name that drug so often in a broadcast, or the censorship gong goes off. We need answers on this. And where is the fent czar that Justin Trudeau appointed? He's made the news exactly twice. On the day he was appointed, and on the day somebody found him and asked, what the hell is going on with your efforts to stop this drug from getting across into the U.S. border? He hasn't even addressed the fact that this stuff is coming in at Vancouver ports.
Super labs in British Columbia. And what I'm talking about, our weak laws are enabling that to happen. And my headline was, yes, something like 700 kilograms of meth, largest ever seizure in New Zealand. It came in maple syrup bottles, disguised in maple syrup bottles from Vancouver. I uncovered other stories where drug mules, I reported this week about a young woman, an immigrant from Afghanistan to Canada, allegedly threatened with a gun to her head if she doesn't fly to New Zealand carrying meth disguised as Christmas gifts, then she's going to be in big problems. So many people are flying out of Vancouver. Methamphetamine and other synthetics are being hidden in machine parts, furniture, any large industrial quantities going out of Vancouver. So that points, I believe, to President Trump's deeper concerns.
Are you still tracking the Chinese money, Sam? I mean, that was the whole subject around willful blindness, and you've weathered backlash for your China scoops and frankly risked your life covering the story. I mean, how have the handcuffs of China, have they loosened on Canada or no?
No, you're right. I do assert, and now the U.S. Treasury agrees with me. I don't know if you saw their recent report pointing to Chinese underground banking systems of the very type I described, called the Vancouver model, in the United States, laundering over $300 billion for Mexican fentanyl cartels in 4 years. That's U.S. government reporting, and that's a smaller proportion of Chinese money laundering in the United States, even though a much larger country, proportionately much smaller Chinese diaspora. In Canada, very large Chinese diaspora. And this is why I and others say Canada is a Western Hemisphere capital for Chinese Communist Party networks, using Canada as a money laundering hub. So I say, the fentanyl, the meth, the ecstasy doesn't, get sent out of Canada, produced in Canada, without that money laundering architecture. And when I say architecture, I'm saying Canadian banks, law offices, and the cities of Vancouver and Toronto, multi-hundreds of billions laundered through those cities.
So that's how incredible this is, folks. Sam Cooper has done a tremendous job of reporting this, and he needs to be commended for the job he's done, because it's been absolutely superlative. But here's what else is happening. I find this absolutely shocking. RCMP have closed the investigation into alleged Chinese police stations in the Montreal area. Why? No evidence? Something funny going on here. And you know who's complaining the most? And Sam Cooper notices, yes, Google Maps actually picks up on a CCP, Chinese Communist Party police station. So it's no secret except to the RCMP, who apparently don't give a damn. And here's Senator Leo Housakos, who says, shut them down. Why are Beijing's clandestine police stations still allowed to operate freely on Canadian soil? Chinese Canadians deserve answers and the right to feel safe in their own country. And it's Chinese Canadians who are complaining the most, because these Chinese police stations target them. I tell you, if I live to be 100, I'll never be, surprised at, what's going on here. And it's absolutely shocking. Now, before we get to the ostrich front, well, actually, I want to show you this first. No. We will show you this first, because this is what's going on.
You guys are not allowed to walk the perimeter line and take video.
Perimeter line being where? Because our perimeter is like there.
This is under search warrant.
Yeah.
So CFIA has control of your property. They were gracious enough to allow you to access the house, and that's it.
Gracious to, like, you gotta understand from our position, we're separate property from the ostrich ranch.
Your property is under warrant.
But why?
I'm not going to explain that to you.
Oh, okay.
Right now, I've talked to CFIA. They said they've given you permission to access the house and nowhere else on the property.
Well, we have to access the garden. Like there's harvesting that has to happen. That's why we're
garlic over here.
Yeah, it's just over there.
Because I saw you guys walking the entire perimeter filming.
Well, the entire perimeter, that's where the garlic is.
Like what we're talking about, this is 5 acres that's fenced in. Our perimeter goes up to that fence and it goes way down there.
Okay, but I'm going to be very clear on the facts.
Okay.
CFIA expressed you can access, it's uncommon for somebody to access a search warrant area, right? It's a secure scene.
Yeah.
They said you may come onto the property only to access the house. The RCMP are not the lead authority here.
Yeah.
However, being that it's a search warrant, we lawfully need to ensure, in conjunction with CFIA, that nothing's being breached, right?
Right.
So I give one warning, and I know there's been some misinformation. Listen.
I'm just saying, like, can you understand? Like, this is our property for 18 years.
I understand.
This
However,
is our perimeter.
However, there's rules in place that need to be followed.
Yeah.
Okay? So when you're walking around filming us, that's not picking garlic. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
We respect what you guys are doing here wholeheartedly.
And the problem is we're the messengers, right? This
Totally.
isn't an RCMP investigation.
Yeah.
This is
No,
CFIA.
I know. Yeah.
So I spoke to the CFI lead and I said, please inform me of what you've advised before I enter and have a conversation.
Yeah, the CFI has never spoken to us ever.
Never.
I won't get into that because I don't deal with their communication channels.
Yeah.
I'm solely here because what I was told by CFIA is that they allowed you access only to the house, not to walk the perimeter.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's fine. It's nobody's explained that to us because we've never spoken to the CFIA.
Explain it to you.
Yeah, that's all good.
These lines are very clear, and we have to ensure that nobody colors outside of them.
That's fine.
Right?
Yeah, it's just if somebody defines those lines for us because we didn't know.
Well, when they say you shall only access the house and nowhere else.
They said the dwelling. So we thought this 5 acres is considered a dwelling.
Well, I'm not going to get into the legal optics of it.
Yeah.
I'm coming from the police perspective in enforcement of the CFIA investigation.
Yeah.
Where there's a search warrant on your property. So I'm not here to get into a conversation that's not going to work for either of us. I just want to explain. That's why I made some phone calls before I came in, because I'm not going to come in here misinformed.
Yeah.
The information on record from CFIA, they spoke to you guys. They said you shall only access.
The CFIA never did, though.
And I don't know that, right?
That's just me clarifying for you that they've never have. Is that we've tried contacting, and she contacted Nikas or RCMP to get information, but nobody ever responded.
There's a communication channel you guys need to access, whether you use the family at the farm.
Yeah.
But there's a certain communication channel that has to take place. It can't happen between us. It needs to go through the CFIA. They are the lead.
Totally. Yeah.
Right?
I know we're trying to get a hold of them.
Okay. And I know I've heard earlier today there's some frustration in that.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it avoids these type of incidents where we have to come in and be like, listen.
Totally.
This is.
What a bunch of idiots. And I'm not talking about Katie's cousin there. I'm talking about the RCMP and the CFIA. This is a revolting situation. Our family farm. It actually has nothing to do with the ostrich farm. This is a neighboring farm. They have been forbidden to even pick the garlic. Oh, and don't film the RCMP or the CFIA, because what they're doing is secret. This country has devolved into a catastrophic authoritarian mess where people who own their land aren't even allowed to access that land. Oh, they can go into their house. And the CFIA has been gracious enough to allow that. These goons, this is time. We need to remove the CFIA from this property now. Remove them and remove the RCMP until the Supreme Court rules on whether or not to hear this case. Case closed. We need to remove the CFIA, and we will have to do more, obviously, to embarrass the CFIA, to indict them for animal cruelty, to charge them, and to get this organization off of these people's land. This has gone way too far, and any Canadian with half a brain can see how stupid this has become. Now let's have a look at some more of this, because this is absolutely incredible. I can't tell you how frustrating this is too. All right. Look at this. The CFIA now has taken control of a neighboring property at the ostrich farm. So that's who you were talking. That's Katie's cousin. Katie Pisitne's cousin. Email notification to the government is now required for a woman to visit her mother's house near the BC ostrich farm. Canada may arrest you if you want to visit your mother without an email. And Rebel News has been covering this, and we're all trying to get the word out. This is absolutely crazy. And of course, Katie is still trying to get these charges dropped that the RCMP leveled against her and her mother when they tried to feed their ostriches on the first day of the invasion from the CFIA. They were literally goaded, the CFIA entrapped them into feeding their ostriches and then got them charged with animal cruelty for trying to feed their ostriches. This is how stupid this situation has become. Thank God for people like this. Clearway Car Rental in Abbotsford has canceled their contract with the CFIA. Keep going. Call on the Save on Fence Rentals and Hay Bale Company. Do not cooperate. Do not comply. Happy Thanksgiving. Absolutely incredible. Now here's another story which I've got to highlight. This is, of course, woke Vancouver. Doesn't get any worse. Just talking to somebody in church this morning. He just got back from Vancouver. And of course, you go down Hastings Street and there's blocks after blocks after blocks of drug addicts defecating, urinating on the sidewalks, passed out everywhere, drug paraphernalia everywhere. That's Vancouver now. Yeah, it's been taken over by the crazy people, by the far left, and that's what the country is. And now they've canceled a J.K. Rowling festival. And look at who the hell is Tom Digby, who's saying last night Park Board did the right thing, apologized to whatever the hell that is, 2GD2S. I have no idea what that stands for. I can probably something to do with transgender and two-spirited. And says how stupid this is. And well, they have a community. Really, Tom? Do they live? They have their own little gated community in Vancouver, do they? How wonderful. After an emotional discussion, shared some tears. What the hell are you crying about, you idiot? Disavowed JKR. Oh, nothing. JK Rowling will undertake concrete actions to rebuild trust. You people are just pathetic. So I love this response from J.K. Rowling. And I'm not a big fan of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. It's very occultic. It's full of witchcraft, which is not something I agree with. But I sure as hell wouldn't want her censored. I know a lot of people like it. And I am not in the censorship category. And I don't want her banned or her books banned or anything banned because somebody doesn't like her views on gender ideology. And J.K. Rowling believes there's a biological difference between a man and a woman. She can define what a woman is. I'm sure, Tom, you can't define that. I'm sure you'd have real difficulty trying to define that. And J.K. Rowling says, to be honest, I didn't even know Vancouver Parks and Recreation had avowed me. So the disavowal hasn't been much of a blow. Next time, send me a certificate of avowal. Wait until I've proudly framed it, hung it over my PC, and taken a selfie with it. Then revoke it. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, X keeps encouraging me to follow the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which their X site says is all about safeguarding food, animals, and plants. What a crock that is. And here we go, rolling authoritarianism. Now Mark Carney, Inspection Canada, CFI, has locked down the entire area. Neighbors of Universal Ostrich Farms not allowed to harvest their garlic. Are they trying to shut down agriculture in BC altogether? Why? Why did the CFIA keep increasing their power grab when there is a Supreme Court of this Canada state? They're not listening to the Supreme Court of Canada. They're doing whatever the hell they please. And my concern, as I keep saying, is that we are going to be into an unofficial kill unless we get these people off the property. We need to get these people off the property because, as I've said repeatedly, the CFIA is off the rails. They're unaccountable to anybody. They're the lead agency in this, meaning they just tell the RCMP what's going to happen. RCMP is powerless in this because the CFIA is basically a, how shall we call it? A paramilitary force? Yeah. The CFIA has become a paramilitary force that can move into your backyard, move into your farm and start killing animals because it says so. Doesn't matter if they're healthy. It doesn't matter if it's been 7 or 8 months. They just do whatever the hell their policy says. And now they're taking over adjacent farms to the universal ostrich farms. And these people are not allowed to pick the garlic. No, you can go into your house, and the CFIA has been gracious enough. Oh, well, where the hell are they supposed to sleep? You know. But don't take your video camera out, folks. Don't be doing any filming, because what we're doing is secret. That's why we have bales of hay around our little execution area. So as I've said throughout this process, Katie has been unable, has been forced, has been banned from finding out how many ostriches are remaining. She suspects the CFIA is up to no good. She has proven maltreatment, animal cruelty by the CFIA against the ostriches. It's all on video. But she cannot do anything to intervene in the process. She can't even find out what the status is. And the vet she sends in, her veterinarian, can't do it either. The RCMP is not allowed to tell her how many ostriches are left. Folks, this has got to stop before this country goes completely off the edge into authoritarianism. And this is why more and more Canadians are waking up to the story and saying, hey, you know, it's not just about those ostriches. It's not just about that farm. It's about my house. It's about my property. It's about my pets that could be killed or taken away from me because the CFIA says so. This is about my freedom. It's about my property rights. This is about whether Canada is a slave state or a real democratic state. I don't think we're very democratic anymore. And as I've documented on this station, every day last week, we've got censorship bills coming at us en masse. At least 3 of them, possibly 4. And that's why if you love this country, if you think the country's worth saving, tell the agriculture minister to stop the madness in Edgewood, BC. Tell the CFIA to get its grubby hands off of these ostriches and off of this family. Tell them to go home. We're going to be waiting at least another week, possibly 2, for a Supreme Court decision. Do these people have to continue to put up with the CFIA activity on their farm until they get an answer from the Supreme Court? This is ridiculous. The RCMP and the CFIA needs to go home to do something productive for a change and not sit on this farm intimidating the people who own it. So I want to see some action on this next week. I encourage everybody to do something, do as much as you can to, let's say, encourage them to leave. And Katie has never, ever validated or encouraged any kind of action that is in any way improper, violent, or undue. She has been fighting back in the most respectful, the most dignified, and the most cooperative way possible. And that's what she's going to continue to do. Hopefully we'll have her on the show Tuesday, but that's about all we have for today. Thanks for watching. And don't give up. Don't give up. Oh, yeah, wanted to show you this. Sorry. This is evidence, again, that the CFIA is actively harassing the birds.
The person appears to have a string in their hand of some sort, or twine. I don't think it's enough to lasso the bird. They may be giving up.
We just walked this line, she didn't have it in her hand before.
Those sunglasses look very sealed up. And then there's another one way down at the far end here.
Let's have a look at that again. Here. That's what we're talking about. This picture here. This guy is carrying like a lasso or lariat, and they're trying to capture the bird. Why? What are they doing with them? There's no call order. The call order has been suspended. It's been stayed. So why are they doing this? This is the question. They won't answer. Katie can't ask the question. The CFIA is a goon squad, a death squad, people dressed up in their hazmat costumes, pretending these birds represented some kind of danger to public health. So that's what we're talking about here. Yeah, run away from that guy. This is absolutely, yeah, and you can see it there. So that's what we're dealing with here, folks. Yeah, there you go. Showed it to you again. And as soon as he realizes it's being filmed, if there's a video camera there, or a smartphone or whatever filmed this, he hides it. He hides it. So, you know, that's the this is absolutely beyond reason. And this has to stop. We're going to keep documenting this for as many days as this takes. We want the CFIA off of this farm before they can do any more damage, because clearly the evidence is there that they're continuing to harass and terrorize these birds. And what are they doing with them? This is like an unofficial killing. God only knows what they're doing, because they're shielding themselves from all media attention. They're shielding themselves from attention from the family. And we are not allowed to know what's going on, and that's unacceptable. And I want to thank my producer for putting that on at the end, because that's what we're dealing with here. There's the lasso or the lariat in his hands. He tries to hide it as soon as he knows he's being filmed. These clowns, this is a gong show. This is, go back to your circus. Get off this farm. And if you ate today, thank a farmer. Because the Liberal government, the Carney government, has a war on farms, has a war on agriculture, just like the Trudeau government did. And it's time to move on past that. Thank you for watching today, folks. Thank you for your generous support. And we'll be back again tomorrow with more of the news you need to know. And it's going to be a very exciting week. Thanks again.